Justice Leach, Dr. Bird, Dr. Lowen, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this evening. My name is Shaun Chen. I've lived in North Scarborough my entire life, and I'm currently the Member of Parliament for Scarborough North and formerly the School Board Trustee and Chair of the Toronto District School Board. When Parliament unanimously passed Bill C-14 last June, the underlying principle was to prevent any province from losing a seat in order to preserve communities of interest and identity. Ontario was slated to gain one seat, and as legislators, we were reminded of how new seats were allocated in the 2012 redistribution process by simply adding them to areas of greatest growth. The current proposal, however, takes a different approach. 3 new seats are being added in areas of greater growth, while 2 seats are removed from areas ostensibly of lesser growth. This exercise in reallocation between regions appears to prioritize the objective of meeting the provincial quota of 116,590 within the Commission's desire of plus or minus 10%. Meanwhile, the legislation permits a deviation of 25%. In 1991, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled in Saskatchewan versus Carter, the purpose of the right to vote enshrined in Section 3 of the Charter is not equality of voting power per se, but the right to effective representation. The court goes on to explain that factors like geography, community history, community interest, and minority representation may need to be taken into account to ensure that our legislative assemblies effectively represent the diversity of our social mosaic. In 2004, the federal court heard Rache contre le Canada and overturned the New Brunswick Commission's proposal, which had imposed a deviation of 10%. And in doing so, inadvertently moved a Francophone minority community into an Anglophone majority constituency. That brings us to today. The proposed reduction of one Toronto riding results in a cascading effect across the city that culminates in decreasing Scarborough's representation. The plan disrupts historical boundaries like Victoria Park Avenue. It divides communities of interest and identity, such as Milliken and Sandhurst Circle neighborhoods in Scarborough North, and it diminishes minority representation in the city's most diverse and disadvantaged areas. Scarborough is a unique place where 74% of residents are visible minorities. In Scarborough North, 91% are visible minorities, the highest percentage of any riding in the country, and 70% was born outside of Canada. In short, I submit to you that the current proposal does not support effective representation. Today, you are hearing from many minority groups who would like 6 full ridings restored for Scarborough. Disruption and one less seat will only further marginalize those who are already underrepresented in Canada's Parliament. What then is the larger solution for Ontario? Commissioners, my recommendation to you is to take full advantage of the flexibility that is afforded by federal legislation. In Toronto and other areas of growth, you can make adjustments within the existing number of ridings to rebalance populations within 25% of the quota while maintaining communities of interest and identity. Ontario has 1 new seat. You can simply add it to the region of greatest growth, which is Brampton, Caledon, and Dufferin. Our Toronto caucus has submitted to you a plan for 25 Toronto ridings. This includes extending Scarborough North's southern boundary to Ellesmere Road, the area known as the Scarborough City Centre. The residential buildings here are relatively newer developments that do not have the same historical attachment to the rest of the Scarborough Centre riding. In fact, prior to 1996, this area was included in Scarborough North's predecessor riding known as Scarborough Rouge River. In the interest of time, I will be submitting to you in writing my specific proposals and rationale. To conclude, Your Honor and professors, I will simply say thank you. This is no easy task and often a thankless job, but I know that you have the effective representation of Canadians at heart. Merci et bonne soirée.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Could I ask